Hey everyone, today's episode, Chris and I are talking all about the systems and processes in your business and why what you're doing is probably totally fucked. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Contractor Growth Network. I'm Logan.
And I'm Chris Livingston.
And today we're talking about this one main question. You ready for this one, Chris?
I think I asked you the question earlier today. So is it the question I'm thinking of?
What do you think it is?
Is the system broken?
Kind of. That's a derivation of it. Let me hit you guys with the question that I have in my head. Right now, if you're driving, wherever you are, I want you to take a deep breath and actually think about this question, because this is a very true one. And then I'll give you the backstory on the question and some of the things that I've gone through. But the question is this. Right now, think about what you're doing in your business, what role you actually play, and how it's all going. And then think about your family, how they live, and imagine how your business affects your family. And with all that being said, here's the question. If you're driving right now and for some reason a trash truck T-bones you and you die, you get seriously injured, whatever it is, and you're not able to work, what would happen to the family? And I don't mean what would happen to the family in the sense of they'd be really sad, they'd be really upset, but I want you to think about it in terms of how your business's income affects the family.
And how are you asking if it's going to be able to be replicated or?
Correct. Meaning if, let's say you own a contracting business and you make, I don't know, let's say the average is $50,000 a year. And let's say your spouse, let's say your guy and your wife makes $50,000 a year, and you go down, and if your business cannot function without you actively in the field doing all this stuff, 50 grand goes away. But let's say you're in one of these situations where you make 50 grand, but your spouse makes 450 grand. You're really only losing, a little bit of money.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Some taxes.
So think about that in your business, because that's the conversation. That's the topic that we're talking about today, because I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't think about when they're in this, I want freedom, I want independence, I want this, in my business. Because in reality, if that's what you're pushing for is independence and freedom, and you go down and you don't have the right stuff set up, you're fucked.
So pretty much you're asking the question that, can my business still bring income if I'm not there? If I'm not present to be part of this, if I'm injured, if I have no say right now, does my business continue to run and bring income for my family?
Correct.
Or am I every part of my business, and without me, legitimately nothing, no money's coming back? Either I stay the same, I regress, or it's nothing at all.
Yes, exactly. Because when it comes to business, everybody has systems, right? I know everybody talks about, I got to get my systems in place. Whether you like it or not, just like culture, you have systems, right? You have processes set up. Most of the time, they're pretty fucking bad. They're bad systems. They're bad processes. And especially when you first start off if you're in year 1 or year 2 of your business, that's one thing. But if you're in year 18 of your business and you are the system, meaning in a large corporation, let's say, my girlfriend works for Wells Fargo. If the CEO of Wells Fargo goes down and he gets hit by a trash truck or a bus, is Wells Fargo going to fold up?
Not by any means.
Not at all. They're going to find a new CEO because they have everything all set up. But if a contractor, where it's a contractor and maybe 2 helpers, and the helpers, there's no real systems here, and the contractor goes down, then everything folds because we realize the contractor was the system.
What do you say to the person right now who's sitting there driving his truck and saying, oh, it's not comparable because of the fact that Wells Fargo is this big corporation and it's me and my 3 helpers?
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, okay, great. Whether I compare it to Wells Fargo or a smaller, let's say another contracting company that maybe it's them and 3 people, but they actually have stuff set up in the sense of, and I'll get to one of the most important systems to set up first, but if it doesn't matter who you're comparing it to, because the reality is if you go down at the end of the day, you're in trouble. Your family is in trouble. Okay. So all these things that, well, it wouldn't be responsible to my family to do this or to do that. Well, you know what's not responsible is the way that you're fucking treating your business in relation to your family, because you are a liability. For as much as you're the breadwinner, maybe, where you're bringing a lot of income compared to the total household income, you're also the biggest risk to the family, and you're doing nothing to actively get yourself out of that risk. So think about that. Would you put all your money, because the likelihood that you get hit by a truck or you go down or something like that, it's not super high, but there's a reason that people buy insurance, because we don't expect to get in a car accident. We don't expect to go down, but if you do go down, you better hope like hell that you had insurance. And that's the same thing with all these systems.
Do you think people always talk about the idea of, oh, I want to get out of my business. I want to get out of my business. I want to start working on my business, not in my business. Don't you feel like people should be fighting like hell for that to happen?
Yeah, they say it's a nice to have. Think about the percentage of people that say, I want to lose weight. Okay. And of all, let's say you polled 100 people and 100 people said, I want to lose weight. How many of those people over the next 6 months will actually lose
their goal?
Their goal. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, sample size, it depends. 5% maybe.
Yeah. 5% of people, which means the other 95 people, it's a wish. It's not even a goal. It's a nice to have or a wish, but you're not actually trying to lose the weight. And the only reason that people ever lose weight is because of one of two things. One, the biggest reason, they had a health scare. Hey, you had a stroke. Hey, you had a heart attack. Something where your current relationship with food and fitness is hurting something. Like my dad, for example, my dad always talked, like I did a podcast with him, and the weight, like he's been talking about wanting to lose weight for a few years now, and he never does it because his current day-to-day is not affected by his weight. And I said, Dad, what's something that you love to do every day? He said, I love to hike. And I said, okay, at your current weight that you're at right now, he's not a massive guy by any means. He's like 5'10", 230, right? I said, can you still hike? He said, yes. I said, can you hike? Is it painful? He said, it's a little bit painful. And I said, at what point, if you stayed at your current rate, would you not be able to hike because the pain was too great because of your weight? He said, I got about 10 years. And I said, okay, I bet you'll lose the weight in 9 years.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, that's not true. I'm like, okay, but it's been 3 fucking years of you talking about this and nothing has changed.
Because the pain's not great enough.
Because the pain is not great enough. But once the pain becomes great enough that your normal day-to-day or your current daily habits become affected, that is when shit will change. So you think about all these contractors that, like there's another guy that I saw, he like got hurt or something like that. And he was like, I guess I'm now forced to create the systems. Well, guess what? Maybe because you're out of the field for 2 months, you're forced to now create the systems. But where would the business be if you didn't wait for some act of God to come and force you to the systems? Where would your business be if you actually did these systems 3 years ago when you first said you were going to do them? Because now when you go out of the field, you don't have the pressure of you're out. Plus, you got to figure this shit out. It's now just you're out.
The wise person recognizes the stove is hot before having to touch it.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that's the same thing with what I'm trying to help you understand in this podcast is nothing like there's, what is it, death and taxes are like the two things guaranteed in life. And we don't know when death is going to be. We don't know. And maybe you don't have to be death. Maybe it just has to be something strong enough that you're fucked. Or maybe
you're just sitting down 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and you're realizing that you didn't do it. That you weren't able to go to your kid's baseball games, and your kid now has a relationship with something that you probably wish he didn't have, and you think that you could have gotten in front of that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a situation where you recognize, hey, me and my wife are not, we had like this super loving relationship when we first started out. It was such a romantic, experience, but right now you're just kind of like existing together because you haven't had time together, or she's starting to resent it. I mean, I'm not going to be silly. I had that exact same experience when I was in the military. Like a large part of me saying, hey, like I loved what I did in the military, but at the same time, I could not look back and say, well, you know what? I was missing out on opportunities because I still have one life to live. So the pain, though it may not be right now in front of your face, the pain should be always in your mind in the sense of what's the pain of me not actually taking this step? Yeah, it may not be painful right now, but what's the pain of me not doing this? And if you know the right thing to do, like, why are you not doing it? Like, that makes no sense to me.
It's because it hasn't come to fruition. What is it like the tax collector hasn't come to collect yet. Right. So until that day comes, because that's the other side of it is with weight loss, you either have a health scare or you have some event coming up. You have something like you change your circumstance where maybe you have a wedding in 6 months that you're in the wedding and you don't want to look fat, or at this wedding that you're attending, your ex is going to be there and you don't want to look like a piece of shit. So those are the only two ways that somebody's going to lose weight is they either have something changed about their circumstance where they have a health scare, or they essentially have some reason why they want to lose this weight. And it's typically going to be some sort of
tangible reason,
a tangible deadline. And that's the same reason when it comes to like contracting work, right? Somebody is going to say, oh, I want my kitchen redone, right? And there's pain. But one of the biggest things that makes somebody move forward is they have something coming up. They're hosting Thanksgiving this year and they don't want the same crappy kitchen there, right? Or another reason, instead of like this thing, the health thing, a health scare comes about, but in the world of kitchens, maybe something finally breaks down or somebody came over and said, wow, this is a terrible fucking kitchen. Like there's reasons why people move forward at certain times. Now it's up to you to let them know that, hey, look, this is more than what you think it is. And why wait until you have Thanksgiving? Why not just enjoy it for another couple years? And then when you have Thanksgiving in a couple years, you'll have already been able to enjoy it. But I think that's the issue here is that because people are not faced with pain or there's no, if you were running on the track and you're trying to push yourself to break a 6-minute mile, that's a very different scenario than if you're running on the track to break a 6-minute mile and you got a fucking lion chasing you. Because one of them, it's life and death. You are going to make that change. But if not, I mean, there's no reason, there's no rationale behind it. And you are this system. You are the process. And if you go down for whatever reason, whether it's death or you get hurt, or even if something takes away from you, maybe death of a family member. Well, now you can't function properly because you're mentally thrown off. And how are you supposed to continue to thrive when there's no systems? I mean, like, that's the whole idea of next man up. When you think about like in like the NFL, like if somebody goes down and let's say the entire offense is built around this one player and that player goes down, now what do?
Yep.
You need to build reserve. You need to build systems where it's the next man up mentality. And we all say it and we all love to look at like, the fucking NFL and all these like big time, like organizations that have this shit together and go, oh, that's what I need to do. I need to build out the systems, but you don't actually ever take accountability for your own stuff.
What do you say to the person right now, a person who's been listening to this 3-4 times, listening to this for months, listening to this for years, and legitimately there is no better option out there when it comes to marketing for contractors. Like there is none. So what do you say to the person out there who says, I love listening to these podcasts. I always get some like knowledge nuggets from them, or I get X, Y, and Z from them, but I still haven't acted. They still haven't gone forward with actually changing their business.
So the reason there's two real reasons in my mind that people start their own business, and it's going to be for independence or wealth. And when I say independence, I mean freedom. And those are two very different driving factors. One is I want to make money. That's the wealth side of things, which means that you're willing, and it's stupid of you to not take chances that are going to build that wealth because you're looking at this very objectively, where it's like, will this make me more money? Yes or no. And if it does, and you're a wealth-driven person, you move forward. The other side of it is the independence/freedom. That's why a lot of us first start in this entrepreneurial world, because we realize I don't want somebody else telling me what to do, which is totally cool. However, you have to recognize the downside to being your own boss. If you're somebody who naturally is lazy or procrastinates, it is going to be very tough to actually get this shit going in the right direction because you were not naturally built to do this. Can you learn it? Can you put stuff in place that forces you to do this? 100%. However, if you just sit here and listen, and then do nothing about anything, and you just go on your own way, this is no different really than watching fucking, Keeping Up with the Kardashians in the morning on the way to work. Because if you're going to do nothing with the information, maybe one day it'll finally kick in. But if you're doing nothing at all with this information, and something could even be take this and actually have some thinking time. Sit down, grab a glass of bourbon or some shit like that, sit in the corner in your favorite chair and just have a paper and pen and just write out this, what is one system I can build first that does not absolutely, and even it does require you, just write it out. I remember I hired a business coach and he was like, Logan, what systems do you have? And I was like, I don't think I really have any. And he was like, okay, let's talk about a sale. How does somebody hire, what does that look like? And I was like, well, first they got to call me. He goes, okay, hold on one second. He drew a phone on a piece of paper and he goes, okay, what's next? And I was like, I answer and I go through a series of basic questions just to figure out, are we a good fit? And he goes, okay, 1 second. And he writes down basic questions and he draws an arrow from the phone to the basic questions. And he goes, great, now what's next? So essentially what we did was I realized there is a very set process in how to actually make a sale. And he said, great. Now what'll happen here, Logan, is which one of these in this 7-part process, which one of these do you think you could pretty quickly hire somebody to step in and fill that first role? And I was like, oh, I guess maybe step 5, whatever it was. And he's like, okay, great. Now each one of these steps, can you write down how it actually works? So if you need to plug somebody into step 5, they would be able to pick it up quicker versus you just saying, oh, you figure it out. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So that was how I started with all this stuff, where it wasn't, let me outsource everything. It was, let me actually write out my system or my process on paper. And then for each individual step, let me actually write exactly how that goes or within reason. So that now I can conceptualize, this is how it works. And if I ever want somebody else to step in for that part, well, now it's all written down.
What percentage of contractors do you think right now have their system written out?
Half of 1%.
0.5%.
0.5%. I would say out of every 200 contractors that are listening to this podcast, I mean, even my dad. And my dad has, I mean, he's started and sold several $million companies, and he doesn't have this stuff written out.
Okay. So if they don't have it written out so that they can be able to visualize it, if their people can't visualize it, yeah, they may run through it every single day, but not having it explicitly written out, then what right do they have to complain about a homeowner not following their system?
Or let's even take it a step further. What right do they have when a new hire comes in and gets frustrated and leaves for $1 an hour more? Because you run a shit show, you have all the information in your head, yet unless you're an amazing communicator, which most people are not naturally amazing communicators, and you may think you are, but realistically, if you have an attrition problem with your company, you're not an amazing communicator, then you're going to have people come in, not know exactly A, what the role is, and B, how their role fits into the grand vision of the company, because somebody who's a laborer, but doesn't realize that, hey, I mean, that was me for a while with my dad's company. I was what was called the rock bitch. My job was every day move the rocks from the front yard to the backyard for 9-10 hours a day. And if I didn't know, okay, this moving of the rocks back and forth every day is going to help this grand vision of getting this homeowner to have a nice water feature in their backyard that is a memorial for their significant other passing away, then I would go, fuck this. This sucks. But because I knew what the grand vision was, it helped me day to day. Now you flip that back to the homeowner of, if you don't have this stuff written out, if they don't know what's going on, that's one of the biggest reasons why people do not move forward with you as a contractor, because the person lacks clarity around what you do, which turns into they also lack confidence in hiring you. Not confidence in the sense that they don't think that you know what you're doing, but they don't understand how it's going to work, nor do they understand how this is going to solve their deep down problem. And because they lack confidence in both of those things, they're going to say, nope, if I'm going to lack confidence in you, I might as well, get somebody to do it for half the price, because I also lack confidence in them. However,
it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. You guys are apples to apples as far as making me feel good. So I might as well fucking save $10,000. So it's on you to transfer the confidence and the clarity over to your consumer, because otherwise they will not move forward with you. And that's the same shit I hear day in and day out from, and you hear it too from contractors where they say, I can't put pricing on my website. Well, why? Well, I need to educate them first. Educate them on what? Well, educate them on my background, how I work, why I'm different, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, so you do have a process on how to acquire somebody. So
You educate them on the process. You educate them on the work.
Yeah, you have a process. So why are you holding that shit close to your chest? If the number one reason that people hire you is you, first off, they're not hiring you because of you.
And also, this information that you have is not some Fort Knox secret.
It's not at all.
It's
no,
not
it's
at all.
not. Like, it's the same shit.
It's legitimately like this concept of I gotta keep pricing close to my chest until I talk to a homeowner, because of the fact that I'm gonna say something that's miraculous to them. This whole idea that I have to keep pricing close to my chest until I have a conversation with the homeowner that I'm gonna give them all this value. That is pretty ridiculous. Like, are you some magician that has value way different than anyone else can tell me? And the thing is, a reality is the value is in my heart already as a homeowner. The contractor.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so the value is like the pain. The value is the motive. The value, that's the reason why I, as a homeowner, I have that value already inside of me. It's the contractor's job to expose that value so that we can leverage that as far as, hey, this is why this costs this amount of money. Or this is simply just, this is just what it costs. Not even like why it costs this amount of money. Because I think that it is very much telling that, I didn't know this until recently, but many contractors out there consistently cannot afford their own work.
Not many, most.
Most contractors out there consistently cannot afford their own work. So this concept of I've got to go out to someone's home to give them value, no, they've already got the value. You got to go expose it and you got to charge what you're worth.
But here's the problem is the whole charge what you're worth, I'm into that. I get that. However, if you're not paid on the value that you're paid on the value that you add. So if you're not able to specifically clarify, this is why I'm valuable, this is why you hire me, then you getting frustrated that people are not going to hire you is entitlement out of you. And you're just a whiny little bitch that just says, well, why won't people hire me? Or you do what's even worse if they say, oh, fuck them, they're too cheap. If they don't want to pay for value, hey, that's fine. But guess what? You're still broke. You don't have fucking money because, yes, you saved your ego because you didn't tap dance for somebody which is a great start. However, you can't support the family, which is back to the idea of if you don't have this shit out of your head and on paper where people understand it, then you are the system. And if the system goes down, the system of you acquiring money to support your family also goes down. And if the system that you acquiring money for your family goes down, then the quality of your family, think of the position that you put your family in if your income goes away. What does that look like stop for a second, think about that, give it a 5-second thought. And now, what would your life look like if your money went down? And if you're actively doing nothing to change that?
Not just, let's clarify that real quick, because I think that what happens is people running around, they think they're working. They think they're working hard. They think hey, I'm working hard to change my situation. But was this, at time of this recording, March 2021? All right. Hey, I know my systems are messed up. I know I have no system in place. I know I don't have any written out system. I gotta get my system taken care of, right? I gotta get my systems, written out. But what's gonna happen is March 2022, they're on the same conversation. They're gonna be nowhere forward. They're gonna feel like they worked hard. Hey, I put things out there to make a change, but there's no difference.
Most business owners, specifically, contractors, every business owner, most of them are not necessarily physically lazy. They are mentally lazy. They don't do anything. Okay, let me give you an example. So right now, what we're doing is I'm actively talking to my accountant to figure out a way because there's a loophole when it comes to the stuff that we do, where the government will
Don't
actually
say stuff we do. What do we do?
when it comes to like the whole customer acquisition aspect of it, which is a whole system built around a process built around how to acquire new customers, and a big part of that is a website. Now, one of the things that we do is we make your website ADA, American Disability Association. There's a couple tweaks that we have to do to it, but we can make that like say, hey, this is ADA approved. Well, when that happens, you're able to get a $5,000 tax credit, off your taxes. And this is not a tax deduction, which is, you pay you're not taxed on that amount of money. This is straight up like the government will give you a $5,000 break. So if you pay 50 grand a year in taxes, well, because of this, if you do it this way, you'll actually only pay 45,000. Well, I could say, well, I'm just going to like push and drive and build websites more and more and more, or I can try to become smart and understand a way to make what I do more appealing. And if I go to people and say, hey, look, pretty much half of this will be paid by the government, how much more lethal do you think our sales guys are going to be when it comes to selling and helping people understand this? Because it's like, hey, like you don't have to pay the whole thing. You do up front, then you're going to get half of that shit back from the government. And of course, it's like that is thinking that is being mentally strong and thinking outside the box and stuff like that. While what most people are going to do is they're going to forgo that and say, what I'd rather do is I'd rather just grind and wake up earlier and work harder. But they don't think. There's no thinking time involved, which is why a lot of these organizations fail. Like for you, Chris, could you make a hamburger better than McDonald's, you think?
Do I think I taste your burger?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so, yeah.
Okay. Could you sell more hamburgers than McDonald's?
No.
Right. And that's the difference is most entrepreneurs, most contractors can do a better bathroom than fucking bath fitters. Or they can install a window more or like a better window than Window World. But what they can't do is sell more baths or sell more windows than these organizations that have essentially said, look, we recognize that having the number one product is not going to benefit the consumers or the company. So they said, fuck this. Let's turn this into a system in which we can still help people out because they're going to get a new bath or a new window or a new this or a new that. But we're going to help so many more people get what they want versus, me just focus on installing the number one best window I can for somebody just in case a fucking hurricane comes in. When in reality, we live in Iowa.
Yeah.
Right. So they focus on the wrong stuff here. And as a result of that, they are the system. They are the reason that, income is coming in. But as soon as they go down, they are in trouble. If they go on vacation for a week, what happens to their income?
It's stagnant.
Okay. If they take a few days off because they have to go to a wedding, what happens to their income?
Goes backwards.
Okay. They go to the gym and they're squatting and they throw their back out and it's hard to walk for a month. What happens to their income?
Goes down.
Okay. So in any one of these circumstances, if anything happens to the system, AKA the contractor, AKA the actual fucking business, their income goes down. Their income stops. But guess what doesn't stop when you can't work? You got to pay your truck. You got your truck note. You got to pay insurance. You got to pay your cell phone. You live in a home, right? You got to pay your mortgage.
If you're a good contractor, you're paying still got to pay your employees.
Yeah, you still got payroll and all this stuff. And if you're not there, I mean, I think that's a big part of what people forget that when it comes to company culture, they think they have a great culture, but culture is measured on when you are not there as the leader. What does everybody do?
Yeah, what still happens
is like, for me, that's been one of the greatest things about having you now step into the sales role, like the closing position, is if I go out of town, like I'm going out of town on this Friday, I'm not going to be here. Well, guess what? Work will still come in. We still have people it is still set up. So we still acquire money because cash flow is the number one thing in business. Can I pay everybody? Today was payroll day. If everything was on my shoulders, first off, mentally, that's a fuckload of stress. But secondary, the business is still going to grow and everything's still going to run without me. So I can make payroll. And on Friday when I'm out of town, I'm not stressed that everything gets put on timeout. And guys, this is like, I'm coming up like on officially, like I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. So if you're in year 1 or year 2, you are the system. Like there's, this whole working on the business and stuff. Like it's tough. I'm not saying don't do it.
And also shout out to the people right now that are very early in their business game and they recognize this extreme value of having a system.
Yeah.
They recognize that they did not hop into this arena of being an entrepreneur to be someone who is the sole worker or to have every single hat. It's okay. It is okay to say, hey, I'm not good at this. My time's not best spent this way. So what I'm going to do is if I absolutely have to do it right now, then fuck it, I'm going to do it. But the entire time that I'm doing it, I am working my ass off so that I don't have to do this anymore because I can get to the next step. I can get to the next step of what I need to do. Because what frustrates me is, and I can say this with complete conviction, there is not one person that's a residential contractor that's either in the painting, remodeling, outdoor living space, and I probably can go a couple more, but there's not one person listening to this that's in that space that would not be extremely benefited by us. Like legitimately, there is no one else out there that is better than us. There's no one.
Do you feel guilty for saying that?
No.
Then why do contractors, if they're really that great, why do they say, oh, I don't want to sell? I don't want to feel like salesy. But if your stuff's really that good, like you say it is.
And the thing is, if you have this negative perception on sales, then I think that's on you. For me, selling is solving problems. We don't get mad at doctors for diagnosing and solving a problem. You don't get mad at, Apple for allowing everybody on earth to communicate with one another because they solved a problem. Yes, they sell iPhones. Yes, they sell Apple Watches. Yes, they sell Macs. But at the same time, like they're solving problems. And I have one of the most amazing jobs where I can solve problems for actual human beings, actually spend time with their family, actually give them the business that they want to. And maybe something that we don't talk about enough, in my opinion, is the fact that I have an ability to solve a broken system of the contractor homeowner purchasing experience. It's broken as fuck. I think that is absolutely crazy right now that people are complaining about Home Advisor, complaining about it to no end, complaining about the thumbtack. It doesn't matter how you rebrand and make the another name, but complaining about having to buy leads but not having a system to create their own. And they recognize that it's a broken system. So I have no problem at all expressing how I feel and what I know is true. So if you're a person out there listening to this and you're saying, okay, well, yeah, there's some good stuff. Well, figure it out. Figure it out so that you can be in a situation where you have a system. Figure it out so you can be in a situation that you are proud of your business. Figure it out so that you can be able to say, you know what, honey, I put in all this energy and all this work and all these sacrifices and all these, risk, whatever it may be, that I put you through, honey, and I put the kids through. But there's a value from that is we're going to be able to go away for 3 weeks at a time to spend time with one another. Our business is going to be okay. It doesn't have to just be, sometimes it's in the summer, sometimes it's in the winter, sometimes it's in the fall. It doesn't matter. But babe, I'm going to make sure I take care of this family and allow us to go spend time with one another. If the kids have softball practice or the kids have, baseball games, whatever it may be, I'm going to be there and be present because I can walk away from a business and spend time with the most important business, which is your family. If you don't have it figured out right now, I'm going to say it's okay. But if you're not committed to figuring it out, then it's not okay. Then you are failing. You are not committed to a proven system. It still baffles me every single day for people who are like, I don't know if I can do this. Well, one, there's a broken system out there. There's a broken system of being able to acquire clients consistently on your own. All right. 2, we have a system for it. And it is the best system on earth to do it. Legitimately on earth. And it is so simple in the concept of, well, you know what? Not only is it good, but there's a guarantee behind it with consequence. And I don't know anyone else on earth who's able to do that for you. So it's not like you don't have the answer. It's not like you have to continue to go fish for this stuff. And yeah, you're on this island of not knowing what's going on. The answer is right in front of you. All you got to do is just say, hey, I know the answer. Now I'm going to go get it. Now I'm going to figure it the fuck out. If you said to yourself, hey, I couldn't run this business without a truck because it doesn't make any sense for me to have a wheelbarrow and to be lugging all this freaking lumber on my back every single day from point A to point B. Well, you figured out how to get a truck. You figured it out. If you recognize that your business, the health of your business is dependent on your ability to acquire clients consistently, well, then figure it out. Give us a call. It's not that hard. It is. We position ourselves in a way that we love our clients. And I love that. Like, we love the people that we work for.
And I think what's funny about all this is I hear this a lot with landscaping companies, right? Well, let's say they do like design build, where they actually install it, but they also then will do maintenance. And I'll ask them, I'll say, hey, do you then, like, after you install something, because the way that most landscaping companies will actually pick up good maintenance contracts is they'll install it, and then because the trust's already built, then they come back and do it. But the actual game of acquiring maintenance customers is tough because it's typically a race to the bottom. And there's going to be lawn care companies out there who can do it way cheaper than you and who have less overhead, and they do stuff like all that kind of shit. We all hear about it. But when I ask the companies, I'm like, okay, after you install, I don't know, like put in a bunch of plants, do you then educate the homeowner on how to water them and keep them going? And they're like, well, no, because then that takes money out of my pocket. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, if I tell them how to keep them healthy, then they're not, then I can't then sell them on maintenance. I'm like, okay, well, what about this idea? What if you're losing a lot of people on the front end because they're afraid that after you install it, they're not going to know how to take care of it. So they might as well not even bother installing it first. I was like, because realistically, that's happening. That's what we did for our stuff is I recognize, up until back in October, it was just a website. That's what you bought with us. It was a website that did a lot of the stuff. But then once I kind of recognized, okay, how do we make this a system? Because people don't give a shit about a website. They care about getting customers. That's what they really care about. How do we build a system around it? That's when this stuff took off. So for you, if you're a landscaping company and you do both design, build, and maintenance, what if you make sure everybody knows that, hey, when we actually, put all the stuff in, we're going to make sure you know how to water and this and that, because in all reality, people want to feel like they're in control, but guess what? They're still going to fucking hire you to do it because do they want to go out and weed?
Yeah, they're going to think to themselves, oh, this person was educated enough to tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, might as well just let them do it for me.
Correct. Like you're not robbing yourself of this stuff. Like the amount of information, like when it comes to like, let's say, I don't know, fucking blogging or email marketing or Facebook ads or any of these other services that we provide after we lay the foundation, all that stuff's out there. So it's not like, we're not losing business because that's literally like the way that we help sell a lot of our stuff is I have people, hey, go read this book. That's going to like literally lay out step by step.
Show you exactly how to do it.
How to do it. Because guess what? You don't want to fucking do it. You want to know how it's done.
And to be candid with you, shouldn't be doing it.
No, you shouldn't. So that's what this all comes down to. It's a scarcity mindset of if I put this stuff out there, people are going to steal it or this or that. And it's so stupid because that is actually hurting you. It is stopping people from moving forward with you because you think, I need to educate them first. I need to walk them through my experience. Well, guess what? You can do all that shit online. You don't need to talk to every single person to do that. You don't need to run out to somebody's house and do that. But they need to see me. They need to hear me. They need to feel me. Great. Start, fucking post videos online, right? If that's really what they need, start to post this stuff online because guess what? You look like a leader because in the online world, people are going to go, wow, this guy's got a YouTube channel. Wow, this person's doing this. That's great. Guess what you don't look like when you go out to their yard? A fucking leader because you've done nothing up front. So recognize that because part of the system that we help set up is, you as the contractor, you are in the fucking driver's seat. Whether you want to do the system or you want to pass this off to an admin or somebody else who's going to take accountability over it. Let's say you go down and the person goes, okay, you're hurt. You can't work. How do I do this? Well, you're going to say, great. Watch this series of videos, follow this step-by-step on how to post on Facebook and stuff like that. And it's already done. So you're not buying a fucking website. You're not buying the knowledge just for yourself. You're buying something that you can pass down, which is the same thing that you should be doing with your contracting business. Is you should not have a business that is run around you. That is why Jimmy Carter fucked up as a president. Jimmy Carter did not delegate. Everything was back on him. He was the center of it all, and everybody worked around him. And in 1980, that dude got fucking wrecked because he did not want to delegate anything. All right. So if you are operating like that fucking peanut farmer, Jimmy Carter, sorry, I'm a big history guy. You're stuck because one little crack, one little this, one little that, it all comes crashing down if you don't have this stuff done. So anytime somebody says, I need systems, I need processes, I'm going to say, great. What have you done to actually set that up? And a lot of times, like step one is always just write it down. Just document it. But people don't even have the wherewithal to do that. They just think that it's going to, through osmosis, Chris is going to come in and learn how to do this stuff. We have documents on here are the questions to ask in sales. We have it like visuals of like, here's how the actual fucking sale process goes. Like we have all this stuff set up. So when we do hire new sales specialists, like new people who are in sales for us, because guess what? That is the most important job in your business is to acquire new customers. It's not fucking customer service. It's not fucking, admin stuff. It is to acquire new customers. That is the number one thing that you need to do.
That's the lifeblood of your
until
business.
You get large enough, at which point you will know that you can pivot away from that. But if that is not your mindset, which is every day, let's fucking hunt. People say, I die for my business. I put out for my family. No, you don't. Yeah, maybe you're working 12, 13 hours a day.
6 days a week.
But mentally, what are you doing to set yourself up and set up your family for success? Like, think about, okay, Chris, you're about to have a kid in how many months at this point?
So July 24th is we got...
Yeah, 4 months.
4 months.
You got 4 months until your first kid is born. Now imagine if you would have been in this position for the past 2 years where you're grinding and you're working day in and day out for 2 years and 4 months. You could have made so much fucking money in that time frame by doing this stuff. So by the time your kid comes around, you already have money in the stock market that's growing for you. You already have investment properties done that are just literally just cash flow. Every month, you're making $500 a month because you're paying off a mortgage, but you're also getting rent in. And guess what? That in Charlotte, that house is going to appreciate 9% every single year. So on top of making an extra $500 per month, that actual house is going to grow and grow and grow. So by the time you sell it, that's a lot of money. Now, if you have all this stuff set up in place, that is a system where if you do take, let's say a month off for paternity leave, and you don't make any sales and you're commission based, so you don't make any money on that, well, guess what? You have these rental properties that are still paying you. Let's say you had 6 rental properties, $500 a month. You're still making minimum $3,000 a month.
Yep.
So like that is the game, guys. If you really want to talk about how you need to be responsible for your family, you need to be financially sound with everything not being on your shoulders because you are actively putting yourself and everybody that you love at risk. This is no longer I need to build a company so that my grandkids can help. No, because guess what? Like that's so far out that's not a motivating factor for you. Everybody talks about generational wealth, but they don't actually focus on the one thing that matters, which is starting today. The amount of contractors that come in, they're in month 1 of business and they say, Logan, I want to set this thing up. I want to franchise it. Okay. Franchise what? You don't have a business.
Yeah.
You literally have you and technically an LLC. And every single one of those people that comes in and says, I want to franchise this. I want to do that. Bro, get your company set up first. Then you can talk about franchising.
Right now, as simply put as you can, so that no one can step away from this podcast saying, well, you know what? I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. All right. I think we all see right now the value in having a system. I think we all see the value of franchising your work so that you don't have to be integrated at all times in the business in order for it to be successful. You have to acquire new customers. What, generally speaking, I know everybody's got their own unique situation, but generally speaking,
They actually don't. Everybody thinks that they're different. Everybody thinks my business is separate. The way I do things is different. No, it's fucking not. Right? You think about your competitors, they're all doing practically the same shit. Maybe your design's a little bit different, or maybe your stuff's a little bit different. But what really wins is how you can clearly get that across to your homeowners.
So communicating what you do. Not necessarily even what you do differently, but just communicating what you do.
That is going to literally, it's like in business, think about this. If you, like that's something I learned very early on in business. Half the battle is just answering the phone when somebody calls. If it's a new customer, if I can just answer the phone, or if somebody fills out a lead on my website and I can call them back within 15 seconds of them filling it out, I was on like a 2-year fucking streak where I was like batting 1,000 on if I reached out to them within 15 seconds of them filling out the form, they bought right there on the spot. Because it was that impressive of like, holy shit. This guy, like, guys, everybody in business has problems. Like we have somebody right now that's coming in that we just built their website and they're like, hey, Logan, like it's not pre-qualifying people as much as I want them to. So guess what? That's a problem. We all have problems in business. It's now how do we step in and fix that? And we got some cool shit coming up that I've already talked to Melissa and we've already worked out how to fix it. But the response time and how quickly we can turn this shit around, that is what people want. So I'm sorry, what was your initial question? Because there's gonna be something different.
No, I think that's good because you kind of jumped on that idea of that people aren't necessarily different. But what I was saying is that if everyone is listening to this right now, they recognize that they got to franchise their business, they got to franchise their work, they got to be able to step themselves out of the situation and have a written process for the things that they do. So not only that they understand it, but the people surrounding them understand it. They can be able to retain good quality employees because they feel like they're part of a well-oiled machine versus something that's going to be clunky every single day. Where do you start?
First place to start is, first off, if you're not in our Facebook group, go join the fucking Facebook group. Like that is just, you have to fucking do that. Common sense contracting. Second thing is write out your current system. Just spend 20 minutes. It really doesn't take that much time. And the people that say like, oh, like I see this all the time on our Facebook stuff. Hey guys, like go ahead.
And I'm gonna throw it out there because I think it's so much value in just kind of like not only practicing what you preach, but going ahead and like doing it the right way. What I recognize for our system is this. Yes, we talk about this all the time. Know, like, trust, right? And then challenge and then convert. So people talk about know, like, trust very beginning. Part of our system is getting you exposed to us. All right. Letting you know that there is another option out there than what you're currently doing. All right. Then you see that we know what we're talking about. You like us, you trust us. All right. Then this is the next part for our system. Challenge. We got to challenge the way you're doing things right now. You got to challenge the thought process that I consistently get with people about having pricing on the website. You got to challenge someone thinking that I can simply just go put price on my website, then I've done exactly what you guys are talking about. No, you don't. Or you got to challenge the thought process of that homeowners aren't supposed to know what it looks like to work with you. It's your fault. You got to challenge the idea of your responsibility in the pains that you have. All right. Then you got to challenge the real value that you actually provide and bring. All right. So we're challenging all those things, all these conversations, the Facebook, all those things. We're challenging you to recognize that there's a better way of doing things. And you can do it. It's not non-obtainable. It's not going to the moon. You can do it. It's right there in front of you. And then you have to take the next step. It's like, yeah, we say convert, but the reality is they've got to just walk through the door. We've opened the door for you. All you've got to do is walk through it. I love the fact that we are so client win focused. And by that, I mean the fact that we celebrate every single time a contractor is able to spend time with their family. When Frank's able to go to his kids' Pinewood Derby situation. When Lindsay's able to spend time with her husband and be able to get out of a rut situation. When James is able to take care of his financial situation and now be in a situation where he's ecstatic about what he does. He's a leader in his space. I love those things. So we open the door for these people, and all they've got to do is just walk through it. Like, the light at the end of the tunnel is just right there. All you need to do is just walk through it. You hear it consistently. When you're on this podcast, when you're driving every single day, when you're on YouTube, when you're in the Facebook group, when you're listening to the Monday Night Lives, you hear it consistently. All you got to do is walk through it. And stop saying to yourself, I'm going to try to do it myself. Because, and it's not the fact that you're doing it yourself that's the problem. I don't care. I don't care where the money goes in that situation. But what I do care about is you not effectively getting it done. And you spending time where you shouldn't be spending it. It makes no sense at all for you to be working on your website, be working on your own blogs, doing all this other stuff if you don't even have your systems together. Like, let that be a luxury situation once you have your system together. And acquiring customers is just easy peasy. It just happens. But if you're not selling on a consistent basis, if you're not selling every single day, what is your point in trying to do the other stuff? The stuff that doesn't make you money, that doesn't sell for you. Someone mentioned it, and I could be wrong on this. I think it was Josh. I was on a phone call with Josh pretty recently. And he said, yeah, man, I love this, man. This stuff is awesome. This is your cheapest employee. The fact that your website is your cheapest paid employee because it's actually selling for you on a consistent basis. I was like, dude, yeah, I never thought about it that way, but you're 100% correct. Walk through the fucking door.
Let me leave you guys with a story. So my dad, pond guy, he has to go and buy rock at a quarry, right? And the quarry is actually in a place called Bethesda, Maryland. It's one of the most expensive counties to live in the United States. Highest median, where the actual area is. Well, for the first couple of years that he would go there would be this older guy that was always on the fucking not Bobcat, like the forklift, like moving all the pallets, stuff like that. He was a nice guy, would always wave, stuff like that. Looked like a normal worker. Come to find out, he's the owner of this entire quarry. Quarries are big; they're not small. This is a large one, and this is in a place, like a plot of land that is so fucking expensive. It is like, I don't know when he bought it, but he must have bought it forever ago. This is like, imagine if you owned 10 acres in Malibu.
Yeah.
And the thing with him is, maybe when you're listening to this, maybe you are a true craftsman. Maybe you love your product so much, you are obsessed with actually doing the carpentry on cabinets. But guess what? This guy gets to show up to work and just drive a forklift all day long. The business makes, he's making a few million dollars each year by driving a forklift. And then when he goes and sells the land, he is going to make out tens of millions of dollars because of the location of it. So if you are somebody that says, but I don't want to get out of the field, I don't want to stop building, I don't want to do this, that is fine. But you need to understand, if your business was set up in a way where the money flowed in no matter what would you do? Would you step back and go on vacation? Because that's what most people say is, I like this stuff. I don't want to go on vacation for 6 months. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, if you set your business up where it just runs and you get to place yourself in however you want, you get to pop in and drive the forklift for a day. You get to go and just focus on, staining cabinets. Like, that's all you want to do, but you're still making a few $1 million a year. That is the goal. That is the dream. It is stupid that you're not setting yourself up for that, because now that this CGN runs with, I can essentially, I've only got one more task, and that's doing these website kickoff calls. Once I take myself out of that, then my job is to help steer the ship, because that's what I want. If I want to hop back in and try to get new customers, I can. If I want to do more content, I can. But it's all, that is freedom. That is the actual independence that we all seek in our business. Yet most of us, we say all these things of, we want to get better, we want to do this, we want to do that. But if you actually audited your actions today, think about that. Or think about, whenever you're listening to this, think about what you did maybe the last working day. Maybe if you're listening to this on a Monday, maybe it was last Friday. If you're listening to this on a Tuesday, maybe it was yesterday. If you were to repeat yesterday's actions for 1,000 straight fucking days, and you thought about your goals, where would your life be in relation to those goals? So if you repeated yesterday, let's say you woke up, you skipped the gym, you ate like shit all day, and when you got back, you watched Netflix. In business, you just straight up, all you did was just focus in the business because you just built all day. In 1,000 days, which is about 3 years from now, you would be fat as fuck. If you were still around, because you may have had a heart attack, you would have gone all through Netflix. God damn, the amount of fucking people that I see talk about, oh, I need to build my business. I need to do all this stuff. And then they turn around and say, what show should I watch on Netflix? Bro, you should watch a fucking YouTube channel on how to acquire customers, how to position yourself, how to sell, how to do all this shit. Like, understand the foundations of this stuff, because what you're doing is you're talking about how you're on offense. Because I put a post out there that was like, do you live your life in offense, your business in offense or defense? More people said offense, yet they do nothing to actually back it up. So they're living this ignorance is bliss. And guess what? That's all fine and dandy until it's time for you to fucking go away and your family is stuck. So if you want to be that guy that operates the forklift, but you're still doing exactly what you love, you're having fun, but you and your family are making a couple $1 million a year, or maybe you don't even need a couple million. Maybe you only need, $300,000. That's a hell of a lot better than making 40 grand doing this stuff because you don't have the systems in place. So guys, that is the big takeaway here. First off, join the Facebook group. All right. Because if you do nothing from this, then there was no point to this. You might as well just turn this fucking podcast off and just, listen to, Sex with Our Ex podcast, which is just two girls talking about dudes that they've fucked. Right. That is not what we're here for, guys. We're here to actually get you to, help you do something. We're not the saviors here. That is not my job. That is not Chris's job. That is not CGN's job. It is straight up just to get, you to understand that you and your business are bigger than you and your business, for your customers, for your families, and for generations to come in your community. Because you talk about you want to give back to your community, but you don't actually. It's no different than the people that say, I'm customer focused. Clients have a great experience with me unless they're a pain in the ass, in which, fuck them. You're not customer focused. You're customer focused when the wind's at your back and you have a great customer. You don't actually care about these people, because if you did, you would figure out a way to solve the problem, even if they were kind of a pain in the butt. So guys, understand that, recognize that this stuff is bigger than you, and that if you are the system and you are the process, you are actively putting yourself and your family at risk. Thank you, guys.